When making this breakdown, the original idea was to discuss the competition for the open spot at right guard for the Eagles going into next season. I wanted to compare and contrast the different skill sets between Cam Jurgens and Tyler Steen in order to shed better light on who might win that competition. While I'm excited for the future of Cam Jurgens and Midnight Green, this video took a different turn as I began watching more film of Steen. Announced at the draft, and seemingly penciled in by everyone in the Philadelphia media as a guard, I don't think that's exactly the plan for Steen. I see a player with the skill set to not only develop into a high-level starter at guard, but at tackle as well. People tend to pigeonhole Tyler at guard due to his underwhelming arm length, and I think that's a mistake. Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater, probably the two best young tackles in the league, both have arms within a half inch of Steen. Overemphasizing the importance of arm length and undervaluing the importance of several other, more vital factors would have led to both of these standout players being moved inside to guard. So in this breakdown, we'll look at Tyler Steen, with the main focus being on his pass protection. We'll not only look at the skill set that he possesses that can help him transition to playing guard, but how his skill set and those of similar short-arm players can be used to succeed playing tackle as well. There's two things that you notice pretty quickly when watching Tyler Steen. First is his size. Steen is a large man at 6'6" and 320 pounds, but it's the way that he carries his weight that is most impressive. Some guys will have skinny legs with a big upper body, but Steen is the opposite, as he's very thick in his legs and glutes. Those strong legs show up on his film, as he's able to move people in the run game and easily anchor in pass protection. The second thing you notice is how aggressive and nasty Steen is as a blocker. Seemingly every game, there's at least one play where he lashes onto a defender and drives them 10, 15, 20 yards off the ball before planting them into the ground. This Eagles offensive line is already loaded with guys that will punish you. Dropping Steen into this group just makes them even more physically dominant and intimidating. His strength and physicality is something that will translate to any position he plays along the offensive line. Keep this in mind as we go through this breakdown. When looking at Steen in pass protection, he has smooth, quick feet in his pass sets. With tree trunk legs, you would think he would have heavy, laboring feet, but that's the opposite with Tyler. Even through contact, he displays light feet. There are a lot of reps that Steen makes look effortless in protection. He utilized a lot of vertical sets, likely due to the fact that Bryce Young dropped deep in the pocket often, and was hardly beaten outside by straight speed. If anything, I would say he had a bigger issue over setting too deep or wide in relation to his man. But even in those situations, his nimble feet, combined with good mobility and change of direction skills, are highlighted. Steen isn't using a vertical set on this play, but he crosses his feet and gets too deep. Now at this point in time, you might be thinking Tyler's in a tough position. His momentum is going in the wrong direction, he gave up inside leverage, and that's a first-round pick ready to close on QB1. But as I move the tape ahead a few frames, you can see Steen drop his center of gravity and sink into his hips. This looks like a running back about to make a jump cut, not a 320-pound man that needs to change direction fast. Steen is quickly able to redirect his momentum, open his hips, and bounce into his anchor. Those are traits you like to see. When evaluating players, it's important to look at the plays where they are in tough positions to see if they have the ability to recover. Steen has that. Of course, we'd prefer to see Steen retain a good inside-out relationship on the pass rusher, but it's easier to coach maintaining a half-man relationship than how to get out of bad situations. A lot of players don't even have the ability to move their body the way Steen does. Also notice on this play how Steen is able to drop his inside post foot so that he can open his hips and change direction. Tyler's feet and change of direction skills are a plus at tackle. It's a requirement to be able to mirror pass rushers, as they are almost always better athletes. His ability to redirect will have a heavy carryover when he plays guard as well. Take a look at Landon Dickerson having to redirect here. We see Dickerson use a jump set as opposed to a vertical set, as he'll drop into the lap of the quarterback with a vertical set. But the same principle of dropping the inside post foot applies. There will be times when a guard will get put on an island in pass protection, and they need to be able to redirect easily. Steen can mirror without issues on the edge against faster players. No doubt he'll be able to do the same inside a guard. Tyler will have to get used to utilizing different pass sets inside, as vertical sets will be out of the picture. He will be using primarily jump sets and lateral sets. It's not as if he hasn't utilized those sets before, he just isn't as familiar with them. Strike timing and footwork is different, so he will need to get comfortable inside as things happen much quicker at guard than they do at tackle. His overall hand placement is good, consistently getting inside with underhooks or using bicep and shoulder clamps. He works hard to refit his hands to give himself better leverage throughout the fight. On this play against Mississippi State, he throws a two-hand punch, but immediately recoils his outside hand so that he can get under the breastplate of the defensive end and lift. The two-hand punch and refit is his go-to move in pass protection. I do think he can get more crafty with his strikes. He does have a reliance on the two-hand punch, which can get predictable. Getting better with his handwork will allow him to set up and counter pass rushers. Here, Sewell leaves his outside hand available as bait. He waits for the pass rusher to attack it, then pulls his outside hand away, strikes with his inside while looping his outside hand back around. Mitchell Schwartz was one of the best short arm tackles ever, and the four-time All-Pro is extremely crafty with his hand usage, often using independent punches. We'll see more from Schwartz later. Technical proficiency with hand combat can more than mitigate a lack of arm length, and that's an area that Steen will need to work on regardless of the position that he plays. When Tyler gets his bare paws locked on someone, it's game over. Though he has short arms, he makes up for it with his 10.5-inch hands, and they are strong. A move to guard will make it a bit easier for him to get his hands on someone as the fight happens in closer confines. Steen's hand placement and strong grip work to help him do what he does best, and what he does best is set his anchor. Whether he hops into his anchor or takes a couple gather steps into it, he shows good technique, splaying his feet outward to get more cleats in the ground and using his strong posterior chain to roll his hips into the defender. He finishes it off by lifting the defender, whether he has underhooks on their chest plate or is lifting from the shoulder pads. This is a great look from Steen to refit his hands underneath the pass rusher as he's taking his gather steps. Good coordination and technique. It's hard to find reps of Steen getting bull rushed, and playing guard, he's going to see even more bull rushes. A move to guard really plays into his strengths. Steen shows solid awareness and processing in the pass game as well. He plays with his eyes, quick to diagnose stunts and blitzes, and maintains good footwork, spacing, and balance in order to redirect where needed. On this play against Texas, Tyler does a good job sorting through three players that he could potentially be blocking. He sees a defensive end dropping into coverage while staying patient, waiting for the blitzer to replace him. Steen does an excellent job not chasing the blitzing player inside as the defensive tackle is looping back outside. On this play, Alabama has a three-man slide to the right, typically leaving Steen and the left guard to pick up the two defensive linemen, with the running back taking the linebacker if he blitzes. Alabama is not keeping the back end to protect, however, so now there are only two pass blockers left for three potential pass rushers. The quarterback, left guard, and tackle now need to all be on the same page to sort this properly so protection can be maintained. Steen and the left guard have their eyes on the linebacker, knowing that if he blitzes, it's more important to slide the protection inside to take away the quickest path to the quarterback. The quarterback will now be responsible to throw hot if the edge defender rushes. The linebacker does blitz, and Steen slides in to take the defensive tackle, with the left guard taking the blitzing linebacker. The edge defender drops in coverage and is woefully outmatched. Without good awareness, processing, and communication, the linebacker could have easily come free at the quarterback. Steen will need to maintain that level of mental processing as these reads happen even faster inside at guard. Where Steen really needs to get better in pass protection is with his balance and patience in his pass sets. We've seen that he has the feet needed to play outside, but I think his aggression sometimes works against him as he will reach to get his hands on the defender and lose his balance. On this play, he has good initial position with his feet, but as the junction point approaches, he gets impatient and reaches. His feet stop and his head is so far over his center of gravity that he has no choice but to grab and hold on so that his quarterback doesn't get killed. If he was patient, he easily could have kept his feet moving and maintained his balance. This issue shows up most when defenders threaten the inside with moves like Euro steps. He reacts to the inside move and is caught off balance when the defender steps back outside. Here's an example of Schwartz playing with good patience against a Euro step. He maintains good balance and posture and keeps playing with his feet. In my breakdown of Josh Sweat, I talked about how Euro steps are typically followed up with strikes to attack the offensive lineman's outside hand. Bonus points for Shorts being prepared for this after the Euro step, flashing his outside hand before taking it away, then striking with his inside hand. Here's an example of Sewell being patient, playing with his feet, maintaining his posture, and throwing his punch when the defender is in the strike zone. Steen does a really good job recovering when he gets in bad positions, able to flip his hips and move his feet, but we don't want to see him get in these positions to begin with. And we've already seen Tyler's ability to stay patient, keep his feet moving, and keep a good posture, but it's about consistency. Offensive line play is all about consistency and technique. Even the top pass protectors will get thrown on their face with bad technique. Steen can have 35 good pass reps, but one subpar play and it's considered a bad game. I mentioned earlier that it is hard to bull rush Tyler, and while that generally is the case, he did have reps where he struggled with long arm bull rushes. And I know what you're thinking, that's what's going to happen with 32-inch arms, but let me stop you there and remind you that we've seen 32-inch arm Brandon Graham play longer than tackles with 35-inch arms for the past 12 years. It's all about technique. So what I wanted to do is look at a few of the short-armed edge protectors to see what they do to counter long arm moves. When a pass protector takes their pass set, they need to understand that the pass rusher is going to take what the offensive lineman gives them. Steen uses a lot of vertical sets, and edge rushers are trained to convert speed to power when the tackle gives them space. So in order to straight up limit the amount of long arm bull rushes he sees, Steen can change his pass sets. Sewell used a lot of 45 sets, sometimes referred to as lateral sets or angle sets. In any case, it's pretty much the happy medium between a vertical set and a jump set. This allows the offensive tackle to get width and make contact with the defender earlier in the pass rush. This can stop long arm moves before they start. Jump sets are a good changeup as well. Pass rush moves are all about efficient footwork and timing, and using jump sets is a great way to disrupt that timing. Sewell would also use vertical jump sets as a changeup to disrupt pass rushers' timing. His first kick would be vertical, but he would quickly close space on the defender. I'm not sure if Steen was given the freedom to utilize different types of pass sets at Bama, as pass sets are often tied to the drop of the quarterback, and some coaches only want specific pass sets used at different times. But showing different pass sets works to keep pass rushers guessing as to what they are going to see. But there are times when you have to get in a vertical set, and pass rushers know it, so Tyler will need to use a few other tools at his disposal. One way to stop the long arm is to swat it away before it lands like we see here from Schwartz. Another common method is a trap method, where the offensive tackle will chop the arm down. This works because the long arm is a move where the pass rusher is leaning forward by a good amount, and their hand making contact with the offensive lineman is how they maintain their balance. Taking the arm away causes the defender to lose their only balance point. Here, Sewell shows us the snatch technique, where he pops his hips back to take away the balance point and attempt to shove the defender to the ground. Once the hand has landed, using different types of lift techniques to get the arm off is a good option. Lifting should be done at the wrist or elbow area, and the lift also helps put the body in a better position to sink the hips and anchor. Slater trusts his anchor, so his preferred method is to fight for underhooks. If he doesn't get underneath the chest plate, then his hands will slide up to the armpit or shoulder pad, which he will use to lift and sink into his anchor. This is also Steen's go-to method, and while this does work for both players most of the time, there's always a risk that their hand placement isn't correct and their chest gets left open. Overall, I think Steen has the tools needed to succeed at tackle. He has the feet, the powerful anchor, and the strong hands you like to see. He's missing the arm length, but oftentimes that gets overrated, and we've seen good players excel in spite of their arm length. The funny thing is, the Eagles have two tackles with exceptionally long arms, and it's not like they're using that to their advantage a whole lot. Both Lane and Mailata's go-to is to let the pass rusher enter their body, while they use underhooks or grab the shoulder pads, lift, and sit on their anchor. They're not out there constantly keeping defenders at their fingertips. Some teams completely disregard players at tackle if their arm length doesn't meet a certain threshold, but the Eagles aren't one of those teams. They've been comfortable letting Jack Driscoll take a lot of snaps at tackle, and his arms are 1/4 of an inch longer than Steen's. I know the Eagles announced him as a guard, and that's his best chance to get playing time in the near future, but he has the ability to play tackle. Lane has stated that he wants to play 2 more years, And I believe that should be enough time for Steen to clean up his consistency issues by then, especially with an offensive line coach with a history of developing outstanding linemen. Having multi-position versatility is always a plus, and with Jack Driscoll's contract up after this year, the Eagles would need some players that can fill in at different spots on the offensive line. I know I didn't get around to talking much about Steen in the run game. Maybe I'll save that for a future video discussing the competition with Cam Jurgens for the right guard spot. But for the time being, maybe let's slow down on penciling Tyler Steen in as only a guard, or we just might miss our next tackle of the future.